There's a war being fought in secret, not in the streets, not in boardrooms, not even in churches. It's a war for your attention, your discipline, and your destiny. And the enemy's favorite weapon doesn't come with a gun or a blade, it comes dressed in beauty, wrapped in charm, dripping with allure. It whispers sweet nothings that sound like love but lead to death. This is the trap of Proverbs 7. It's not just a story about a young man and a seductive woman. It's the blueprint of how temptation operates in your flesh and in your faith. The spirit of seduction doesn't always wear perfume or high heels. Sometimes it wears opportunity, popularity, comfort, false doctrine. It's anything that draws your heart away from wisdom from God and promises pleasure without consequence. Proverbs 7 is Solomon's warning to every man who thinks he's strong enough to play with sin. Because no matter how smart, spiritual, or successful you are, the enemy knows your weakness. And if wisdom doesn't protect you, lust will destroy you. So I decided to craft this video more carefully than the last few Bible studies of me just freestyling. So let me know if you prefer the animated Bible study or me going live and unscripted. Let's study this line by line because this isn't just ancient poetry. It's a survival guide for the modern man and woman. Proverbs 7 verses 1 through 3, the foundation of wisdom. Follow my advice, my son. Always treasure my commands. Obey my commands and live. Guard my instructions as you guard your own eyes. Tie them on your fingers as a reminder. Write them deep within your heart. Before Solomon ever mentions temptation, he starts with the antidote, obedience and remembrance. Wisdom is not something you learn once, it's something you bind to your heart daily. Solomon says, guard my instructions as you guard your own eyes, because the battle starts through your eyes. What you constantly look at is what you eventually will desire. Matthew 6 verse 22 and 23 says, your eye is like a lamp that provides light for your body. When your eye is healthy, your whole body is filled with light. Psalms 119 and 11 says, I have hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. The antidote to temptation isn't willpower, it's word power. If you don't store wisdom in your heart, you'll store lust, lies, and impulses instead. Proverbs 7 verses 4 and 5. Love wisdom like a sister. Make insight a beloved member of your family. Let them protect you from an affair with an immoral woman, from listening to the flattery of a promiscuous woman. Now, Solomon personifies wisdom as family, a sister that you protect, a loved one you cherish. Why? Because intimacy with wisdom guards you from intimacy with sin. Notice the contrast. Love wisdom versus listening to flattery. You can't love both. You'll either fall in love with the truth or fall victim to the lie. The immoral woman here represents literal sexual temptation, but also the spirit of seduction. In a spiritual sense, this woman is anything that flatters your ego and lures you away from truth. James 1 verse 14 and 15 says, temptation comes from our own desires, which entice us and drag us away. 1 John chapter 2 verse 16 says, for the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and pride in our achievements and possessions. If wisdom is your sister, seduction is a stranger who whispers through the window of your soul. Which voice are you going to entertain? Let's look at verses 6 through 9. While I was at the window of my house looking through the curtain, I saw some naive young men, and one in particular who lacked common sense. He was crossing the street near the house of an immoral woman, strolling down the path by her house. It was at twilight in the evening as deep darkness fell. The setting says everything. Twilight, evening, deep darkness. Sin rarely calls you in broad daylight. It waits for the shadows. This young man isn't evil. He's naive. He's curious, undisciplined, and wandering too close to danger. Remember when your mom used to say stuff like, only thing open at 3 o'clock in the morning is liquor stores and legs? Solomon paints the picture of a man who doesn't know his own weakness. He's strolling, not running, lingering where he doesn't belong. This is how temptation begins, not with rebellion, but with curiosity. One click, one DM, one what's the harm moment. 1 Corinthians 10 and 12 says, if you think you are standing strong, be careful not to fall. Proverbs 4 verses 14 through 15 says, don't do as the wicked do. Turn away and keep moving. The modern version of this scene happens every day. Scrolling on your phone at midnight, bored, lonely, curious, and darkness falls again. Not outside, but inside. Now, verse 10 through 12. The spirit of seduction. The woman approached him, seductively dressed and sly of heart. She was the brash, rebellious type, never content to stay at home. She is often in the streets and markets, soliciting at every corner. Now, this is where the trap reveals itself. Notice that she's not just beautiful, she's strategic. Her clothing is communication. Y'all know what that communication is. Her rebellion is energy. Her territory is everywhere. This woman is literally for the streets, my people. She represents both the literal woman of lust and the symbolic spirit of seduction. The world today markets this same spirit. It sells sex, pride, and rebellion as freedom, but it's the oldest bait known to man. Revelation 17, verses 4 and 5 says, the great prostitute Babylon, symbolizing spiritual seduction, dressed in purple and scarlet, enticing the nations. Proverbs 9, verse 13 through 15 says, the woman named Folly is brash. She is ignorant and doesn't know it. She sits in her doorway calling out to those who pass by. The spirit of seduction isn't limited to women. It's an energy, a demonic assignment that targets your focus. It appears as lust, greed, rebellion, or distraction, all dressed up in what you desire. You know, wolves in sheep's clothing. Everything in a pretty package don't have a pretty inside. It gets ugly. Now, verse 13 through 15 says, she threw her arms around him and kissed him, and with the brazen look she said, I've just made my peace offerings and fulfilled my vows. You're the one I was looking for. I came out to find you, and here you are. Now, this moment is powerful. She mixes sin with spirituality. She says, I've made my peace offerings. In modern terms, I'm good with God. I've handled my sins. You know, just like the snake, just like the serpent in the garden. This is how deception works. It uses religion to justify rebellion. Always be leery of somebody who's twisting up scriptures for their own benefit. Notice her words. You're the one I was looking for. Flattery is the bait before the fall. 2 Corinthians 11, verse 14 and 15 says, even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. Proverbs 5 and 3 says, the lips of an immoral woman are as sweet as honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. This is not just about her lips, it's about her language. Temptation speaks to your ego before it touches your body. It convinces you you're special, that you can sin and still be safe. Verses 16 through 18. My bed is spread with beautiful blankets, flattery, with colored sheets of Egyptian linen. We know her thread count is off the chain. I perfume my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. She got it smelling right. Come, let's drink our fill of love until morning. She's trying to get that man gone, get him inebriated. Let's enjoy each other's caresses, for my husband is not home. How scandalous is that? Here, the trap goes from mental to physical. She paints a picture of comfort, pleasure, and privacy. But everything she offers is stolen from another man and from God's order. The devil always sells temporary pleasure at the cost of eternal peace. Notice how she uses the senses, sight, smell, touch, to draw him in. That's how temptation still operates, appealing to the flesh and numbing the spirit. Hebrews 11 and 25 says, he chose to share the oppression of God's people instead of enjoying the fleeting pleasures of sin. Galatians 5 and 16 says, let the Holy Spirit guide your lives. Then you won't be doing what your sinful nature craves. She says, let's drink our fill of love. But it's not love, it's lust. It's counterfeit intimacy. Verses 19 and 20, for my husband is not home. He's away on a long trip. He has taken a wallet full of money with him and won't return until later this month. Now here comes the lie of sin. No one will find out. Every temptation comes with the same whisper. We're safe. No one will see. You can handle it. But every secret sin becomes a public shame if left unrepented. God doesn't need to catch you. He already sees what you're doing. That's why you got to have the fear of God. Numbers 32 and 23 says, you may be sure that your sin will find you out. Luke 12, verses 2 and 3 says, the time is coming when everything that is covered up will be revealed. The spirit of seduction promises privacy, but delivers pain. Hidden sin always leads to open wounds. Now, verses 21 through 23. So she seduced him with her pretty speech and enticed him with her flattery. He followed her at once, like an ox going to slaughter. He was like a stag caught in a trap, awaiting the arrow that would pierce his heart. He was like a bird flying into a snare, little knowing it would cost him his life. Just plain idiotic. This is the climax. The seduction was succeeded, not because she's powerful, but because he ignored his wisdom. He literally was thinking with the wrong brain, if you know what I mean. 3 images describe his fall. The ox, strong but dumb, walking to death. The stag, trapped by instinct. The bird, deceived by illusion. Temptation always leads you somewhere you can't return easily from. The thrill fades, the guilt grows, and the cost compounds. Romans 6 and 23 says, for the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life. Proverbs 6 and 26 says, a prostitute will bring you to poverty, but sleeping with another man's wife will cost you your life. We covered that yesterday. When Solomon says it will cost him his life, he's not exaggerating. The cost is your peace, your purpose, your purity, your spiritual life. Verses 24 through 27 says, so listen to me, my sons, and pay attention to my words. Don't let your heart stray away toward her. Don't wander down her wayward path, for she has been the ruin of many. Many men have been her victims. Her house is the road to the grave. Her bedroom is the den of death. The conclusion is simple but sobering. Don't play with seduction. Don't flirt with sin. Don't stroll down that path. Run. This is not just Solomon talking to young men. It's God talking to his sons today, because the seduction of this world still ruins kings, leaders, husbands, and pastors. Matthew 26 and 41 says, keep watch and pray so that you will not give in to temptation. 1 Corinthians 6 and 18 says, run from sexual sin. No other sin so clearly affects the body as this one does. But on a deeper level, this woman represents the world's wisdom. She flatters your flesh but kills your soul. She promises pleasure but buries your purpose. In contrast, God's wisdom, his word, gives life, protection, and direction. Every man must choose. Will you be seduced by the world or married to wisdom? So once again, man, we are talking about the spirit of lust and seduction, and Proverbs 7, it's not a scapegoat. It's direct. It's letting you know what time it is, man. We got to be diligent. We got to remember in James 4 and 7, it says, so humble yourselves before God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. So when you are faced with these situations, men and women of the faith, we know when sin is coming our way. We see what's going on. We see what's happening. We must run. We must flee from the sin and the temptation. We know what's triggering. We know it triggers us. It is what it is. So, look, guard your heart, guard your eyes, guard your destiny. We locked in this due season. It's your boy, Carl Anthony. Let me know if y'all like this version of the Bible study. Peace.